In this video, we're going to be discussing philosophies on positioning. We're going to do that by absolutely positioning a couple of background images into a section on the Knockout marketing website. So what we want is an image of a K in the top left corner, and an image of an O in the bottom right corner. Now those are already uploaded to our assets. So we'll select the K and create another image, and we will select the O. Now the first thing that you'll notice is that these images are a bit large since they're at they're high resolution images. We'll create a custom class. We'll call it image K. Make that 25 VW units wide. We'll also do image O. Also make that 25 VW units. And you'll see that these are going to land sort of on our grid, being a quarter of the page at 25 VW units. Now it's important that we name it in VW units, because that is going to allow the images to stretch and shrink along with the grid as the viewport changes. So the next step is that we will add relative positioning to this section of the containing div. And we will add absolute positioning to these images. Now it's important to attach them to a space relative to the parent div that is going to change along with stuff like word wraps. So for instance, if this grows down, we want our O to be attached to the bottom, not some specific measurement from the top. That way it will behave responsively. But we will see that the issue is that they're showing up on top of the content. So what we'll do is, first of all, correct them within the DOM structure. But that's not going to fix the issue, because this column wrapper div is set to position static. So one way that we could fix that is to add position relative to the content div. But we don't want to have to go around adding positioning divs to content that we're not specifically trying to position. So what we will do is use the Z negative class that is going to give this a Z index of -1, and that will position, and that will Z index it the way that we would like. Now if we wanted to position these images not directly in the corner, but if we wanted to offset them, say a half column out from the corner, we might use 3.571 VW as a margin, so that we can have a little bit more granular control. We'll also do this with our O, and that's how we can sort of position things around the section and keep them on grid and also behaving responsively relative to things like line wrapping. Now, the reason that we use absolute positioning and margins to position our background images as opposed to the transform is that we want to reserve transform for animation, which Webflow uses with its interactions. So suppose we want to animate the background images relative to scrolling through this parent div. We might create a class like animation background images. What I will do is create just sort of a dummy, an empty div that I can add a class to, and we'll say while scrolling in view. I'm going to have this applied to the class animation background images so that we can add and remove that as we need. And we'll say background images animation. Now we can say move we're going to apply that just to the image K, not the accompanying images. And we're also going to move the O and just apply this to image O. Which Webflow doesn't seem particularly excited about. There it is, just image O. And then we will have two of these guys. And we might animate them, say, from 0 VW to 50 VW, and let's see, negative 50 VW. Save that. And when we preview, you can see that our positioning does not interfere. Oh, I guess we should take out this second dummy div. Our positioning does not interfere with our animation. And we can add and remove the animation simply by adding and removing that class.